oh, it's a big thing, it's gonna change the way our computers work. Yo, what is up guys, VPirate613 here, bringing you another commentary today. Now, today I want to talk about DirectX 11 versus DirectX 12 and why people I see all around just Twitter or just in general thinking that DirectX 12 is gonna make their computer run like 50% faster and just make you run games better. Okay, I'm gonna try to explain why you might not see a performance increase if you're on a setup like mine compared to if you're on an older low budget setup. That's where DirectX 12 is actually going to help you. If you don't have a high spec computer, then DirectX 12 is just incredible for those people. Now let's talk a bit about API. So previously, developers, the API that DirectX uses, DirectX 3D, was a little bit harder to code with, and it was a little bit harder to code from consoles and also to code it for PC. But now the new Direct 3D with DirectX 12 has made it much more simpler and gives developers direct access to hardware features. So what this basically means is that it's just going to make stuff like platforming, cross-platforming, or just porting a bit more easier basically, and they can just optimize performances for specific hardware a lot easier compared to DirectX 11 optimization, which is really good. It's good, but you know, that's just all up to the developer. That's if the developer is actually half-assed, well, doesn't do a half-assed job at it, like we got with Batman. Yes, as we know, the PC piece of shit port made by 12 people. That, oh my god, that just makes PC gamers look fucking bad. So let me just talk about what makes DirectX 12 a lot better than DirectX 11, even on the high spec computers, which does actually affect me. I'll tell you why. So the new Maxwell GPUs, or any good GPU that you use on a game, that actually focuses on using your GPU to render instead of just completely using the processor. What tends to happen with people who have a really good GPU but a not so good processor is that we get overheating from the processor, because the processor is trying to do a lot of the work when it doesn't actually need to, GPU is the one that needs to do all the graphical processing. DirectX 12 actually makes more use and makes performance increase in the CPU. So the CPU just does not use as much power because it just does not need to. When you're in 2016, we don't need to see games that need the CPU to run to draw its power from, because what's the point? That's what GPUs are there for. They're more advanced pieces of hardware that can just provide us better looking renders, or just graphically speaking, it just looks better when it's done on the GPU. So that is a huge benefit of DirectX 12. If you have a not so good processor but a really good GPU, then you don't have to worry about your CPU overheating at all. Well, not that much. You don't have to worry about it at all, I guess. The 50% market thing that was saying for 50% performance increase isn't really true. It's just gonna be really affecting that performance increase for the CPU. You're not gonna see a big performance increase in FPS if you already have a good GPU. So what about people with low specs computers? As I said, this makes it a lot easier for coders, makes their lives easier for them to code within this API. So optimization is expected to be a lot better. That's just expected, but that's all on the developers and coders, and they just need to actually do a good job of it. But at the same time, if you do have an old spec computer, as I said, it just means that you don't have to rely on your CPU as much. So you don't just have to invest too much money in your CPU. You can just go grab a good GPU and just leave it with your i5. I have a really old i5 and it works great. I think that we need to wait and see more DirectX 12 and just to see the tests. I have seen some tests from FPS, and it's really weird that they're already using a GTX like 750 or 970 to test FPS. I find that weird because DirectX 12 is not going to increase your frame rate. No, that's not what it's doing. What you need to do is try to test an old GPU, an older GPU, older spec systems with, you know, a CPU that it isn't that powerful, and see and use a game like Tomb Raider that have introduced DirectX 12 support recently to test the game on, to test that older spec computer, and you will see the performance increase. There's a couple of charts as well that showed the performance increase on the CPU. Just it doesn't need to use as much CPU power. So that's my take on DirectX 12. That's why I think it is good. I don't think we need to rely on DirectX 12 though, because there's always going to be really good games that's going to be CPU reliant. I can definitely see some indie developer making a great game that you might need a good CPU for it to run, and not all games are going to be DirectX 12 support. So in my eyes, I just think investing in a computer over the years is the way to go anyway. I don't think it's going to change the way I upgrade my computer. It's always going to be the same. If I want a better CPU, I'm going to go get it. It's going to help me with multitasking and all that stuff, but not all games, as I said, is going to be running DirectX 12, so I'm always going to be upgrading. It's not going to change, and I don't think that it's a big deal, to be honest. It just makes coders' life easier. It makes our CPU's lives easier, and it just means more optimized stuff for us. So that's the way I see it, to be honest with you. I don't see it as like, oh, it's a big thing, it's gonna change the way our computers work. No, I don't see it like that at all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. I do go on for some rants sometimes, but that's what I think. And if I said anything wrong, please quote down below a reference to what you say, and I'll go take a look at if I was actually wrong, because I do read quite a lot of stuff before I make the video. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did, leave us a sub if you got this far, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.